Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Barcast TV. I'm Barcast, joined by none other than Chisato. Welcome, man.
Hello, guys. Hello,
Dude,
everyone.
yeah, man.
Chisato here.
Dude, congrats on winning the finals, man. That's two in a row. It's
Yeah,
a good showing.
yeah. Thank you. Three in a row, actually. Yeah,
Well, three in
thank
a
you.
row. Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, feels very good.
Is there like maybe we'll get farther into this, but our conversation today, we're just gonna go through some of the games you played versus Teddy. If I see some questions to ask you, I'll get those to you. But I think you mentioned something about just kind of sharing your thoughts about the matches. Maybe not this one here, but for the future ones, yeah, I'm sure you'll have some comments, right?
Sure, sure.
I'm gonna unpause it or 1 second so you get a little synchronized here if you like.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was taken from the most recent grand finals versus Teddy. Game one, do you have any like adjustments you make if knowing you're playing against Teddy, or is there?
Uh, I would say we are very similar in terms of playstyle, so I feel very comfortable facing against Eddie. So I didn't really have to make any adjustments to my gameplay when compared to when I was facing Sheshko, and I
Right, right,
kind
right.
of need to needed to improvise my builds.
Yeah, like play safe, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Ted is more of a more conservative player, so kind of fits my playstyle more. So it's easier for me.
Yeah, I guess at that point you're just like the game is going to go long, and I'm assuming you feel comfortable or think you might even have an advantage in that regard. So I guess
Yeah.
yeah. So core vehicles on Isida's crack, is that something you're just comfortable playing vehicles here, or you think it's better than bots, or?
Yeah, I would say all factions work, all labs work here. Cortex, Armada, vehicles, bots, all of them work, I would say. So this time I decided to go Cortex because I just felt like it. There's
Mhm.
no other particular reason, right?
Mhm.
I felt like I would be comfortable facing against Teddy with incisors, no problem. And I just played. Yeah.
I think I noticed you go two scouts first a lot. Is that something? Am I wrong about that, or is this something you kind of just deliberately do?
I don't. I actually have no idea. I just do it. I guess if you try to go con first, you might stall energy. So might as well
Right,
just make some scouts first.
right.
You could open constructor first. That also works, but it just comes down to preference. The advantage of going first scouts is that you can easily scout for information. You can scout for some cheese if the enemy ever does it.
Hmm.
Like if the enemy is going for con drops, you can counter. I mean, I don't know.
Well, a couple scouts that can make the difference. Like you get the flanking damage, right? It's like
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
wild.
it's safer to go scouts first. Let's say it's
Okay,
safer.
okay.
I would say that.
Get the first con. Okay, I remember thinking back to watching you play this game. It was like you were matching him on expanding cons, which is like has to be an advantage to the vehicle player, right? So what do we have? I can take a look here at everyone's view. It's like, yeah, he's got three cons coming, and you have a third con making as well. So
Yeah, a bit because I know he opened bots. I
yeah.
know I have to abuse the fact that the bots are slower.
Hmm.
So I have to keep the pressure and buy time for my cons to be able to expand and make the LLTs before the grunts come in and raid me. So keeping the scouts alive and keeping the pressure him is very
Right, right,
important
right.
because
Yeah,
the moment I lose the scouts, it's gonna be very big trouble for me. That's why I always make sure I don't lose my scouts. I just try to keep the pressure. There's no need to suicide the scouts. Just by
y-
keeping the pressure, you kind of force him to contain all of his army in his
right,
base.
right.
He's not allowed to attack me. And I use this opportunity to make only cons and not incisors early because my scouts are already doing the job.
That's a great point. Like he has to keep all those grunts at home basically to defend
Yeah.
or defend himself. Like yeah, maybe not this con expanding con on the hill, but this one for sure. He
Yeah.
had three grunts surrounding that versus like one scout, which is like what 17 metal or something like that.
Yeah, that's usually one of the drawbacks
D6.
of opening free cons because you have now to defend free cons with a lot of grunts, right?
Hmm.
If you only open one grunt, it's easier to defend it and you can use the other grunts to actually attack your opponent. So,
Right.
yeah, uh, small details.
See, you're getting your first construction turret up. That's This is super greedy, right? Like it's like the fourth con makes a first construction
Oh,
turret.
what timing are you in that? I'm kind
Uh,
of I'm
I'm at 4 minutes. I just paused it
wow.
basically.
I'm at 3 minutes.
Okay.
Every time when I feel like I'm safe and I have the energy to make a nano, I make the nano. It's that simple, right?
All right.
I know Teddy's probably not attacking me. I have a radar up probably, and I have incisors that trade very well against core bots.
All right.
Incisors are way better than runs early in the game if you have a good micro. So I can
Right.
get away
Right.
with making a nano and using nano to expand your build power, energy production, and making tanks fast is very good.
Yeah.
Okay, you can unpause it. You
Okay.
caught up.
Something to reiterate a point we've talked about at length and before was like just how your contour is placed here, just for some people who might not understand what's going on. It's like you have the wind turbines being scaled to the left of it, and like the contour it can turn to the right and assist the factory. So it's like it has two jobs essentially at this point, you know. Scale.
Yeah, you have one nano doing multiple jobs at once. Right? It's
Mm-hmm.
better that way. So you don't have wasted power pretty much.
See your factories on like two cons, or you're just changing this up. Yeah, two cons, five incisors, one rascal, one repeat. So
Yeah, very standard stuff at this point.
pretty maybe greedy. I don't see like the two cons often enough. Like maybe I might see more often like 1-5-1, but it seems a little greedy maybe, or not what I'm used
Yeah.
to seeing. And the contour finishes, and then you, I guess, move out. Is that something you're like, okay, I've replaced the build power, or is it just like time to move out with the
It
commander? Or?
really depends on the economy, right? As you can see, my eco bar is empty.
Right.
So having the commander assisting is not really gonna make my production go faster because I don't have the eco to afford it. So I might as well use the commander to expand and get the maxes faster, right?
Yeah. I guess you're taking a
And
few moments to fix your E a little bit here. So
yeah, I have to fix the because I'm installing pretty hard. So yeah.
yeah, more cons expanding. Okay, I remember thinking back to this game. It's like I saw you, or so you capped all these mexes really quickly, and then everything past it was pretty much exploiters, if I'm not mistaken. It was just like,
Yeah. Yeah, because how do I explain this? Well, it's like pretty standard stuff. Your first max is always gonna be normal ones because explorers are very expensive.
yeah,
You cannot really afford those early in the game. But once you have all the little maxes done, the normal maxes done, and you have enough E for those, you have enough E online, you can afford to make explorers everywhere. Right?
right, right.
It's really that simple.
So your commander's kind of like naked expanding these last couple of mexes here, but all these other like peripheral cons are making exploders right now, which I thought was
Yeah.
pretty cute. It's just, I mean, it's like APM efficient to put these down as well as like just
Yeah,
maybe.
it's more build power efficient. It's
Mhm.
faster to make an exploder rather than making a max in an LOT.
Yeah,
And the exploder is very tanky, so it can actually kill like 4 or 5 grunts, unlike an LOT where you only need like 3 grunts to kill an LOT.
right.
So making an exploder is very good against bots here. It makes it very hard for your opponent to actually raid your maxes. I
Yeah.
think in this game, Teddy couldn't push me at all because I had exploiters everywhere. It would have been a different story if he made tanks instead.
I see you're just now making your energy storage. Is that like a timing you have for this, or is it just like an intuition thing?
Uh, it really all depends on how much E you have and how much you're accessing. Like I feel like if I'm accessing like 100 E per second and when it's on maximum, and then like I'm not able to spend my energy fast enough, I'll just make an E storage. That's the moment I make an E storage, right? And if I feel like I'm lacking on metal at the same time, I use the E storage so it makes it safer for me to reclaim my solars to
Right,
give me
right,
more metal
right.
without worrying about installing energy, right? It's the E storage is more like of an insurance thing, right? Because if you don't have an E storage and you reclaim your solars, you run at the risk of actually stalling on energy
Yeah.
when you reclaim the solars. So the storage is to stabilize your eco, make sure you don't stall, make sure your eco is stabilized throughout the game, and then you feel like, oh, I think it's safe to reclaim those solars. I don't think I'm gonna stall E. I should be good. and then you kind of solve all the economy issues you're having just by making these storages. Yeah.
I see you're eating your solars now. Is that like because you have a full E bar and you're like kind of
Yeah, I
lacking
have a full
metal?
E bar, and I don't have the metal.
Okay.
I don't need the solar because when is on maximum. I have the storage. I
Right.
can afford to make a lot of things before running out of E. So that's when I feel like, oh, I don't need the solar anymore. I can just keep on scanning on wind instead because wind is way more efficient. And
Super.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
We have three. What is it? 3 con scaling wind. I see you just gotten out. You just now have gotten out the muskrat, which, for those of you who don't know, can actually go up this little hill here. Cap those nexus, which is cool.
yeah.
I think it actually goes up here. Pretty sure that can actually get up on this hill as well. So you can put that radar up here. So
Can they? I actually have no clue.
what is it?
Yeah,
Is it
maybe-
F2 or I don't know what it is on grid to like turn
It's
on.
F6. Yeah.
F6.
You probably can.
Okay. Not sure how to read that, to be honest.
The red is passable. The purple is not passable.
Okay.
That's pretty much how it works. So if it's purple, we cannot traverse to it.
I see. Maybe a couple paths. Well, wind's really low right now, so I think you have like a basic solar being made by your
Yeah,
commander.
every time I'm running out of V, I always make a solar immediately, 1 or 2 solars. Just to, if you have the metal for it, you should always make solars if you're running out of V.
Did you
Because they
target those
cost
with the
me-
con turrets, or they just automatically do that?
Yeah, I try to, if I have the APM, I always try to rush the solars with the counterwards for
Okay,
sure.
yeah. Okay, so is it now you're thinking about transitioning? Well, we have decent wind economy, a little bit of metal in the bank. I think we just had to go air here.
Yeah, I feel like when everything's stabilized, I feel like I'm not in a risk of losing anything. That's when I should try to build up a surprise attack on Teddy. Whether it's 15 bombers, 5 bombers, or 20 shurikens.
Mm-hmm.
If used properly, those can be very OP and can catch your enemy off guard. Right? With a properly executed shuriken attack, I can easily win the game on the spot
Yeah.
with a surprise attack. And if I'm sure that I'm ahead of my opponent, I'm confident I'm ahead of my opponent eco-wise, I should be able to pump out more air units than my enemy. So I should be able to keep air control for the rest of the game and use that to win the game.
Do you well, this is an interesting distinction, right? Like Teddy has got this forward lab, he's had that up for a while. And it's like you start, so it's like what he started bots, transitions into vehicles. It's like you spawn vehicles, transition into air, right? Which I feel like this is like you're kind of one step ahead of Teddy in that regard. Like he has only access to AA now is just like pretty much what the Thrashers.
Yeah, Teddy doesn't have as much E compared to me. Of course, I just made, because I made a lot more win than he did. I have double the E than he does, so I have
Right.
the eco to afford the air units, and
Right.
he doesn't.
Right.
So then I can use the air units to abuse the fact that he doesn't have access to air, and I can just bomb everything, stun everything, and he's forced to make AA, which ideally is not good. It's not like good investment because AA, it's way too slow. The map is way too big. You
Mhm.
have to make AA everywhere, which is not really ideal. It's too much AA investment, and yeah, with good air macro, you can just always avoid the AA and attack somewhere else. So at the end, it's all because I scaled better that I was able to afford more units than he did, right?
That's a great point, and like your base looks really nice here. Like what is this? 6 con turrets?
Yeah.
Six con turrets. Well, you've gone up to 4 con scaling E. Like you went air con first into, I guess, Shuri transport, which this is kind of like the get out of jail free card. It's just nice to have this.
Yeah, because I have no res bots anymore, the only way I can actually afford to get reclaim fields is by transporting the nanos.
I see that just now.
And to transport the constructors to the hills, so I can make the maxes on the plateaus.
Oh, you wouldn't use the aircon for that? You would just use.
Yeah, I could do it as well. I can do both.
Okay.
It's better to use a botcon than aircons because aircons, they are not as good as a botcon. They are expensive and they have way less build power.
Right.
it's a lazier way to do it, right? Using the aircon. It's less efficient, but it's easier because you don't have to transport the car.
Right, right. That's interesting. I might try using that in my own games because it's like you can like add AA up here or like radars and stuff beyond capping the mexes
Yeah,
and like
yeah. Having the raiders and the heroes can be very strong. A lot of information, and they cannot really kill it. So
yeah.
it's a very safe placement for the
I,
raiders.
I thought it was interesting like watching this game. It's like you chose to reveal the Shuris now to defend this attack. Is that just
Yeah. I was my intention was to actually make 20 shurikens and not reveal my air, but
right?
I felt like I was in risk of losing a few maxes, so let's just reveal it. Like,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
not?
Right.
It's not worth losing a few maxes just to not reveal my air units. So yeah.
We got a big production here. So on 20 wind speed playing core, there's really no reason to be making A-solars here. Am I wrong about that? Or
No, wind is very high on this map. 20 is humongous amount of wind. And a solars, although they can be good, they are just way worse than wind, right?
right, for sure.
And
Is there
like
a wind speed
because I
you're
have
like
the e-storage to like ensure that I don't e-stall, I can the e-storage allows me to rely on wind without transition to a-storage pretty much.
right? Is there a wind speed playing as core that you're thinking about like mixing in
Yeah.
A-solars?
If it's like let's say 412, 414, maybe I could make a solus. Like you back then, like a few months ago, I was like, a fan of a solus, but then after playing some team games, some movie ones, I kind of came to the conclusion that maybe a wind only with a storages is the better approach. I've been getting better results with it. I've been doing it every single game, and I'm always satisfied with the results. But
Okay.
there are some rare occasions where the wind might throw a little bit and can piss me off, but it's not always the case, right?
Do
But
you think
usually, most of the time, making wind and e-storage
right?
is just way easier to manage your eco. Have a stabilized eco. Aerosols they can be good, but they are very expensive. I would say it's very easy to store energy when making aerosols, and I'm just a fan of wind. I'm just a wind enjoyer, let's say.
Wind enjoy well it can kind of shows here in this main base looking at it right now.
Yeah.
What are you up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, and maybe 5. One's AFK scaling. Oh, here's another one in the back scaling wind. So
Yeah, I just make sure I just spam wind and converters, right? If I'm accessing it, which I probably am.
it's getting
Which
close, right? The energy bar is getting
yeah.
kind of full, So
And the more wind you have, at some point you're gonna have so many winds that you're not really gonna be at risk of installing E. Even if wind drops low, you're gonna have so much wind that you're not gonna really be stalling on it. That's one of the advantages as well of making wind, a lot of wind, right?
right.
And
So
then at some point,
I'm gonna
yeah.
pause here. So this is maybe this will come up in the other games, but I was just really blown away by like your commitment to scaling wind every game. It's like you're like 2-to-1 economy at this 2-to-1 E economy difference between you and Teddy at this point. And it's like, man, I just have to go back and watch like what Teddy did, right, to get like this far
Yeah.
behind, right? But it
Yeah, we
seems
can watch from his POV and I can point out some of his mistakes that he makes. Right?
okay. Should you think maybe we could do that now or like because I don't want
Yeah,
to.
no, no.
I mean, I don't say
Kinda,
the game is like
I kind of feel bad, but yeah,
right.
I like yeah. Yeah, I can see in his base he has a lot of solars, right? He has 1.8k metal invested in
Yeah,
solars, and he's only getting 240, which compared to wind, which
it's like 20 wind speeds like slam dunk like make wind turbines.
Yeah,
Um,
and he's still installing energy, right? Even having double the amount of solars that I have, and
mhm.
he's still installing energy, and I'm not. So it's at the point. It was just pretty much scaling diff, right? I was able to scale more better than he did.
Yeah.
But there are some other factors that happen in this game that I don't know.
I don't want to
I
speak
didn't
too
really watch
much
people.
to like, speak against Teddy, pretty strong player,
Yeah.
right? Do you want to move on to the next game here or like finish this one out? I'm at 14:30. I actually paused at 14:30.
Oh yeah, we can move on. I don't really mind. Where did we finish? Can talk about a little things about in the game.
Okay, I'll move on to the Canis River game number 2.
Okay.
Canis, I'm thinking about taking out of the pool for next season. We've seen it in 2. We saw a lot of games on it between like the qualifiers, the round of 16, and of course the round of 8. So, is there any maps you would like to
Uh,
see added or removed to like?
I'm a fan of Canis, but I think it's being overplayed a lot recently, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
that.
there's time for a change and maybe add some other new maps.
Hmm.
I feel like maybe there's too many big maps and not enough small maps. It's kind of weird coming from me. I'm a big
Right.
map enjoyer, but
So, I was thinking for one season just to pick like a bunch of small maps, like not like bar R stuff like that, right? Like and just see, just kind of like not as a meme, but
yeah.
just to do
I mean,
something
there's
different,
maps
right?
with some interesting games as well. Right.
Battle started.
I would really like to see point of reach added into the map pool. I don't know how it
Oh,
played.
eh, I don't think that's gonna ever happen, but yeah, that would be good.
I think it's a fantastic map. I don't know how it plays in bar, obviously, but in FAF, like as a kind of casual player or just an observer of high level games, I thought it always produced pretty good games, right? So
Uh,
whether it's, I know it's like kind of a lot tougher to play on that map than maybe like a more standard one, but
I think it would be a navy map. But it also depends on the size of the map. Like Kenny's River is also a fast map, but the map is played very differently. The size as well is totally different. The max spread and the
mhm.
reclaim, it's everything is totally different. I would assume it would be the same for point of reach.
What are your thoughts on Canis? Like now that you've had a chance to play a lot of it, like what do you maybe like going into
Uh,
this match against Teddy? What were you thinking?
I know Teddy likes this map, and he beat me the last time he played against me. He beat me on it, so I
Yeah.
think he was comfortable to
Hmm.
face me on this. But I adjusted his gameplay. I knew he was gonna go for ticks right
Right.
off the bat. I knew he was gonna quiver it, so I did the same opening.
I actually knew he's beaten you on this map with this open. He sent me a replay of this actually one time, so that's
Yeah,
interesting. You remember this thing of defeat, I suppose, and
I don't forget my losses. It's because I don't lose that much very often, so it's easier to remember my losses.
right. So okay, so you
It's
adjusted to go ticks, right? Is that just like it's easier to defend ticks with ticks, or
I'm confident in defending ticks and mistakes. Right?
okay,
I'm just confident in myself.
okay,
If I'm confident that I'm better than my opponent, I should be able to outtrade him ticks versus
like
ticks.
in the
Right?
mirror matchup, I guess.
Yeah.
So did you go con first? Sorry, I didn't see that exactly, but or
Yeah, I already forgot.
okay,
Yeah, I always try to go con. I always try to grid out the first con if I'm bot. Right?
okay, that's interesting. Um, on this map, I like going Resbot first. Maybe not from this position. Like I'd go like Resbot first from
Yeah.
here, but
Whether I go resbot or not always depends on how much E I have. If I'm full E, if wind is on maximum, I go for a con. If wind is on low, I go for a resbot. That's how
okay,
it works.
it's interesting.
Pretty much.
So you leave the base pretty early, but you have the 2 cons out, and maybe like 400
Yeah,
metal is still in the bank. Is this like optimal, you think, or could that be?
yeah, maybe I could have done the opening a little bit better. I didn't really think much about this. My plan was just to expand fast. It's because you can't really have the commander in the base because it's very easy to run out of metal. If you have the commander in the base
Mhm.
assisting the lab, so it's just easier to have a few cons assisting the lab and then you expand with the commander. But maybe I could be wrong on this. Yeah, right. It's not like uh, uh, I know it all just because I
Right, right,
played the
right.
tournament.
Well, I mean, sorry, I can pause right here and just look at the difference between your and Teddy's open. Like he's expanding with cons. He's got like what 160 metal in the bank off
Yeah,
of.
he's doing the opposite. So I think Teddy's approach might be better because I had the mindset that I just explained about not stalling,
Mhm.
but that only applies to vehicle openers, right? Because
Right,
vehicles are very expensive.
right.
But maybe if you're only spamming ticks, maybe you can get away with having the commander in the base because you're not really spending that much metal.
Ye-
So there's an argument that Teddy's opening is superior to mine.
I will say, like, like apart from the commander expanding, it seems like you're being a little more greedy on the build power, even too. Like he moved into pawn production, and like you moved into con production, which is kind of a funny sentence, but um, yeah, just still staying on ticks. I think he's got 3, 4 pawns out already. So
Yeah, I greeted on taunt spam because I knew I could defend my core through Nexus with ticks,
right.
and the other next expansion it was being defended by my own con.
Hmm.
So I'm not really afraid of getting my base raided by his ticks, so I can get away with making a lot of bot cons,
Yeah, yeah,
especially because I have a lot of metal in the bank. So the more con I have, the better it is because I can expand everywhere faster. Also with 4 cons, I can insta rush a nano if there's ever the opportunity to do so if I have the E for it.
okay.
So yeah,
The cons are
and the
fairly
cons also
expensive
can
on
do
metal,
well.
right? Like
Yeah, but
110.
because they are bots and no, I'm not really making any units. I can afford a lot of bots. But of course, it's very greedy, right? Because
Yeah,
my
yeah,
tech just abuse me. But then I just have to rely on my own ticks micro, which is what I do this game, right? Try to make less LOT and try to rely more on unit micro, because ideally you don't want to make LOTs because it's a lot of investment and you kind of waste time uh,
yeah.
by making LOT because you
Right.
delay your mech. So it's a high risk, high reward kind of thing, right? By not making any LOTs.
Well, it worked out,
That's
and then we moved
that's
into
my
like
point.
pawn
Yeah.
production. Yeah. Pretty even so far, it looks like. You're up on metal produced right now, so that's interesting.
Yeah, it's because I greeted on cons, right? And he
Yeah,
made more units than I
right,
did.
right.
But because of the defender's advantage, I was able to defend his raids, and he wasn't really able to accomplish much. He might have killed 1 or 2 cons, but I had a lot more than he did,
Right, right.
right? Also, I walked my commander earlier, which is why, like, I walked my commander towards the 6 nexus to the left, and it was like my plan from the beginning. I was planning to walk my commander to the 6 nexus. Daddy, on the other hand, he walked to the 2 maxes only. So I kind of had a better path expanding to my maxes, and that's why I ended up having way more metal production than he did.
Yeah, I mean, like we can just take a look. Well, he's got 2 cons expanding plus his commander, where it's like you're at what 1, 2, 3. One just got cleaned up over here, so it was 4 plus the commander expanding. I guess another con might go down here.
Yeah, Teddy opted for a more aggressive approach of sending his commander forward to make a film lab, which is kind of an all-in move, but it didn't quite work out. So I think, I just ended up
Yeah,
winning this game because I went for a more conservative approach, less aggressiveness, and focus more on getting all the maxes. So
yeah,
I have a lead on the economy.
right. This is a very like older style, I think, is like just moving your commander a little bit forward towards your opponents and then putting down this forward lab.
Yeah. It's a meta on a few maps like CCR.
Right, right. Yeah, CCR comes to mind, but like even Red Comet
Yeah.
perhaps, right? So
Yeah.
which are maps that I've purposely kind of kept out of the pool just because, back it seemed like they were a little overplayed. Like now that I guess we're running into like this map being overplayed, so just trying to
No, this one's been
yeah, so um yeah, like you said, just kind of committing to splitting the map or like capping all the mexes. I really like you're starting to get out these res bots here, like getting this reclaim or
yeah.
resing.
Res and then reclaim the trees.
Yeah, there's so much
Save my
E reclaim here. It's like a lot. It's like, I think,
Yeah, reclaiming trees are very OP. Having 2 or 3 res bots can really save your life if the wind is low.
right.
Absolutely.
So what is it? You said if wind was high, you go con first. If wind was low at the start, you would have gone resbot first.
Yeah.
What do you just like make a solar straight away? I guess after the factory, like wind's low, do you go like solar resbots, or you just?
Actually, I just keep making wind
Mm-hmm.
if I'm opening res spot.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I'm spending a lot of E making the res spot because I don't have any assistance on it. So I just keep making wind. Because solars, I don't like making solars.
Yeah.
They are too expensive. And as long as you don't stall, if you're able, if you can afford making wind and res bots, then it's fine. But if you cannot afford it, just go solar, or you can pause your commander temporarily. You pause your commander, walk a bit somewhere to the left, to the right side, so you're closer to the maxes, and
Right.
then once you have enough E back, uh, you can proceed on finishing the wins or whatever you were doing. Yeah.
I didn't catch that little cheeky
Yeah, it's something that I
wall
do a
block.
lot in games. You walking your commander rather than uh, waiting for your project to finish while you're stalling, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah. So here's that forward lab you spoke about earlier. Gosh, it seems like you're already kind of pretty far ahead here. I mean, metal produced is fairly even.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more even. Like metal's even. Sorry, like energy income's fairly even. Your commander's actually feels a little like kind of awkwardly placed over here.
Yeah, my commander was very risky there. But I know that Teddy doesn't go for con snipes often, and I don't think he knew I was there. So I felt like I was not that much of in danger. Right? Of course, it's risky, but I just felt like I was not in danger. I was playing with fire, but it turned out to work.
Yeah, right. You know what? That actually, I think he had like maybe he perhaps blundered a little bit of an opportunity to win this game, not knowing you were over here finding the comp snipe in this position, right? So,
Yeah.
what do you think about the Centurions here? Actually,
The Centurions, I think they're kind of a mistake. They are very expensive, and that's probably one of the reasons why Teddy.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
270
how
metal.
his economy works, but the Centurions didn't really do much this game for him. It's much better if you make pawns and try to overwhelm me. You can see I have a lot of maxes naked, and
Right.
if you apply enough pressure, you can raid me and kill my maxes in the back and stuff. But because Centurions are too slow, because I'm aware of the fact that he's making Centurions and can easily prepare against those by making medium tanks or Janus, and I can catch them off guard by overwhelming them. And once they die, it's gonna be all a mass gift for me, right? Because the Centurions are in my territory, and if they die, it's all gonna be my medal. So I feel like they were a mistake, right? It would have been better if he either just made maces and did a third push
Right.
with Resbots,
Right.
or just made pawns, or just made medium tanks himself. Like two tank vehicle labs, which I'm not a fan of, too expensive. So maybe just pawn spam into Resbots or maces. Centurions, I think they were not really doing much.
Yeah, I feel like Maces benefit a little more from like their speed and the repair micro, right? Like either like you're
Yeah.
I guess repairing them with the Resbots or the commander even like um over the Centurions, which are unfortunately getting degunned over here.
Yeah.
I will say they did seem to like barely like deal with like walking into LLTs fairly well, but like you said, they're like slow and like once they go down, the metal is on your side of the map, which is like quite
Yeah,
a big.
and I can just res the max,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So at the end, it's gonna be a better trade for me at the end. I'm gonna get the better end of it.
Yeah, see, it's like he's kind of struggling to like securing this high ground plateau, which frankly, I like of all my games on Canis, I think it can be really frustrating, like not securing this early enough, and then your opponent can really like continue to pressure getting units up on that hill.
Yeah, it can be very annoying.
I don't know. There's really no good radar spot, is there? Like, there's just
I mean, I guess you just gotta make raiders everywhere. That's the
Right.
point of gonna cover everything.
Oh, okay. Maybe there. I don't even know if you can reach that. Maybe like, do you want to go all the way out of the way with your commander to like put a radar right there, or I don't know.
Oh yeah, maybe that's possible. Yeah, that would be a good placement.
Yeah. Okay, so now you moved into gunships. The Air Lab surprise gunships. Is this something you've been using in games, or just thought of on the fly? Or?
but that's something I always thought was OP. I just never found the opportunity to do it because I don't play that many 1v1 games very often. And this game, I thought this is the opportunity to do it because Ken is a great example of how strong gunships are. Because you have so many maxes, the map is so big, you can't really reliably defend auto maxes making AA. You would have to make 15 AA turrets, each and every max expansion. Or you make figs yourself. But then, because I know I'm scaling better than Teddy, I have more economy, more energy, I know that I can outproduce Steady on figs, so I don't have to worry about figs.
So it's
And if I make gunships, like 15 gunships to kill all of his maxes, I know he's not gonna be prepared against it because I know he's not experienced against banshees. Not many people expect a banshee attack on your base. Maybe on your commander, but not
right,
on your
right,
base.
right, right.
And because you have so many maxes everywhere, you don't have the APM, you don't have the speed to kill the gunships fast enough before all your maxes go down, right?
It's interesting.
So
We had this conversation earlier in the academy chat, kind of talking about
yeah,
gunships. Which this is a perfect example of like their strength, right? It's like they're really strong at killing mexes. They actually handle LOTs fairly well, but like
yeah, LTs are pretty weak against them, and because of his own vehicles, he has to make whistlers, but even so, whistlers are just too slow. And
Yeah,
they're huge investment as well. And because he doesn't have much build power, he doesn't even have build power to make AA to begin with, right? That's another thing is when you lose all of your maxes and you have no res bots, you have to rebuild all your maxes from scratch using only 3 or 4 cons, which is just too much time, right? It's
yeah,
too
it's,
slow.
right.
It would be way faster using res bots, but because he has no bots, he has no res bots, and it's just, you know.
He's got a few, but they're all the way over in the top corner, like I
Yeah.
think getting the trees, right? So
And then with proper Marco on the gunships, if you can spread all your gunships, and if you can avoid all the AA, you should easily be able to kill all the maxes he has. And suddenly it goes from 50 medal income to 10. That's 80% of his medal income, and now suddenly he can't make anything. He can't make units. He cannot make wind because he has no medal because he killed all of his maxes just by making 10 gunships, which is only worth 1k medal. 1k medal equals 5 million tanks, but you will never be able to do the same using 5 million tanks, right?
So you even reclaimed your air lab too after forcing the anti-air response.
Yeah, because I knew he had no medal for air, and because I did my job already. Why waste the medal on the air lab when you can just reclaim it and start making land units again, once again, right? That's another thing, right? Making use of your labs, right? When you actually need the labs, rather than having the labs AFK for no reason, right?
Yeah, that's something I remember from one of our sessions. Is like just don't have just reclaim idle labs, right? There's like no reason to have them.
You always want to be using your labs. You always want to have build power on your lab. You never want to have anything AFK. You don't want to have AFK nano, AFK con, AFK labs. Never. If that ever happens, you have to reclaim it or you have to use it. You have no other option in between.
It's just like easy mistakes to identify, right? So
yeah, it's something that everyone commits, a mistake that everyone commits, but people don't really realize because they don't see the gravity of the situation, and they just think, it's fine having an AFK lab. But that's what differs, that's the difference between me and them, right?
Right.
I make use of that, and they don't, and I can. At the end, I get the.
It's like getting more value out of the same thing, right? Everyone makes con turrets, right? But it's like if you're putting them in this better positions, right? This is a simple example, right? Putting them in a position.
Yeah, it's just being more efficient with what you have.
So you made a really clean transition to T2, I think, like keeping the pressure up, but even attacking on his side of the map, and then just.
I knew I could have gone to Tech 2 because I had a lot of EXS, and I had a lot of the reclaim that he gave me, right? A lot of the reclaim that he sent to me because he tried to go for a desperate attack after the gunship attack, and I knew his attack was not gonna work, so I used all the reclaim to go for a very quick Tech 2. And then I just used the Tech 2 to make my maxes while he's busy dealing with my army, right? While I'm keeping the pressure.
Yeah, I saw a fire.
Read it out and focus on Tech 2 deco and stuff like that.
See, what did we go? Con first, of course, into the Shredder. That was just a response to the bombing raid he had coming in.
Yeah.
Then you move into console production. So what I see, one console assisting each of these cons, upgrading your mexes.
Yeah. One of the strengths of e-storages that people don't really talk about is just how easy it is to cap your maxes when you have the e-storages. Because if you try to cap all your maxes at once without e-storage, you're gonna be stalling on E. Because Tech 2 Maxes, they are very expensive energy-wise, and you need the energy to afford them. And if you don't have the E storage, you're not gonna be able to afford the Maxes. Even if you have a lot of wind, it's just because Maxes are they require very little build power to build. With consoles, you kind of drain a lot of E at once, so it's pretty easy to install on E, and that's where the E storage comes into play. And then you can even grid it out by reclaiming your Tech 2 lab. So you use the metal from your Tech 2 lab to make even more Tech 2 Maxes, right? And then
I
suddenly you have like 30 Tech 2 Maxes and your enemy still has 0. So you're gonna have like 4 times his eco.
So I know we've talked about in the past like reclaiming your T2 lab to get up a fusion, say like if you're stalling on E. But
Yeah.
that's interesting to hear you say to reclaim your lab to just upgrade your T2 maxes more quickly and then remaking the lab. Is that something you
Yeah.
like do often, or like
Because-
what makes you trigger that, right?
I mean, in this case, I had a lot of E already. I had a G already, a lot of E storages. I was safe from my opponent. And I don't feel like I needed to invest into Tech 2 units to defend against him. So it's not like I need to make Jaguars to defend against his attacks. So why make Tech 2 units if I can keep making Tech 1 units, right? The Tech 2 is just to upgrade my maxes. It's
Right.
not really to
Right.
make bows and Jaguars to kill him. It's just to scale more. Right?
So
it's more of a safer approach. Right?
so say you get the cons and the consoles out and you reclaim the lab. Do you remake the T1 factory then, like the vehicle lab, and then start
Yeah,
go back into tank production, or
yeah, mainly bot labs because it's pretty easy to spam a lot of pawns early, and pawns can very easily overwhelm medium tanks one buys. And then you
Okay.
can make your S bots
Right,
afterwards to
right.
reclaim all the metal that he gifted to you. And bots are very cheap, so you can easily afford to spam a lot of bots without stalling on metal.
While you're upgrading your maxes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Seems a little fancy, but I understand the point. Like maybe,
It's risky, but
right.
I always do it when I see the opportunity. Right? It also always by feel. I'm pushing him. I have like I'm doing fine. I don't feel like I need tech to. It's all by feel. It's all by
Right,
instinct.
right, right.
It's something you just learn by practicing a lot.
I'm gonna go into game 3, Feast of Hades.
Okay.
That was a.
Ah, yeah, I remember that one.
I saw this and I'm like, nah, he doesn't die here. And then I'm like, oh yeah, the underwater laser, it's a thing. So like,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
yeah.
Honestly.
I've done the same thing in my own games, not like so just.
I should have thought about that. I don't know why I did that actually. I just it's because the middle maxes are very valuable, and by having control of middle, you can easily transition to salamanders. So if you're Cortex and you have middle, you have a huge advantage over your opponent, right? Also, because you close off the choke point in the middle, it's way easier to raid your opponent. It's way harder for your opponent to raid you because you don't have access to the middle, if that makes sense. And the maxes are worth 3, and it's very important to hold that middle. I didn't want to give it away, but I didn't have units near me, and he had, so I was kind of I don't know.
Caught with a hand in the
it
cookie
was a
jar, as they
dumb
say.
mistake.
Before we do, like, I can skip to the start of
Battle
this and just
started.
pause. Can you speak to these starting positions and what you were thinking going into this map? Like,
Okay, so I don't have much experience here. I think this is my third game ever on this map, and I chose to spawn here because it's easier to expand everywhere, right? You have all the. If you spawn at the back, if you spawn at the very back, your max expansions are way further from you, so it's gonna be way slower to take them, and you're gonna be way slower to the middle as well.
right.
If you spawn at the front, you're gonna be closer to the middle, but it's the same thing. Your max expansions are far away. If you spawn to the middle, the distance to your expansions are closer, right? All the 5 expansions near you are very close. So it's gonna be way easier and faster for you to grab those maxes. And grabbing maxes early, very important, right? That's like the main reason why I picked this spawn. It's also the riskiest because you're very prone to being raided from all angles, but that's where the confidence comes into play. I'm confident that I'm able to spam units and able to defend other raids by using my APM and using my skills.
Radar and zooming out,
Yeah.
perhaps even just playing like this.
Yeah, and like and trying to expand without over building LOTs, right? Because if you're not confident in yourself, let's say you spawn in the back and you want to expand, but you expand while making LOTs at the same time. It is way too slow to expand. It's safer because you don't get raided from multiple angles and you make LOTs, but at the same time it's too slow and you're not confident in your skills to micro your grunts or whatever units you're making.
It's an
So
interesting.
that's why I'm just confident in. That's why I don't make a lot of LOTs and I try to grid a lot by making a lot of spawns early. I spawn in very risky spawns just because I know I have the skill to be able to.
This is something I kind of like coach people on. I'd say like say in the case of like playing greedier, like playing as greedy as you can, even if it means you lose and get punished for it, because it's like you can dial it back or like play up to the skill. Like you can increase your skills like defending your greed than it is to like so
you get away with greed by
practicing it, right? Or like
practicing it and making use of your skill right, over your opponent. If you're bad against your opponent, you're going to be able to beat more than your opponent, and therefore you're going to be ahead of him, right?
I think I saw that little stutter step micro you were doing with your commander while you're like stalling E there. You're just kind of walking him a little bit to the left of the factory, like your resbot was out. I don't know if that was your intention exactly.
I skipped it. I didn't even notice what happened. I don't know.
That's fine. Yeah, we're around like 2 minutes. I thought he was gonna get this resbot here, so close actually.
Yeah, if I lose the resbot, it's kind of game over for me, because the resbot is like half of my E.
Yeah, it's like
without
huge.
the resbot, I'm not able to afford anything that I'm doing right now, right? Those crystals are very, very, very tasty. They give so much E.
Yeah,
and the resbot reclaims them so fast that it gives you like 108 per second, which is kind of insane.
So unlike the first game, I see you're being fairly aggressive with these two grunts here against the vehicle player. Is that like a conscious choice you're making doing this? Like instead of...
It's because I had the resbot reclaiming the crystals, I knew I had more energy to afford to make more grunts. More energy, more grunts. So why would I use 10 grunts to defend myself? That's another thing that comes into skill. Like Teddy in the first game, he was using all 10 grunts to defend against 3 scouts. In my opinion, the way I would play is I would use less grunts to defend because I would be more confident that I would be able to defend myself using less grunts. And then I use the other grunts to actually counterattack him. Because I know he's making scouts, I'm going to predict that after the scouts, he's going to make cons. He's not going to make tanks. Right? Because I'm thinking that he has the same mindset as I do. If he's making scouts, he wants to pressure me so he can get away with making cons and expand while I'm stuck with my grunts in my base. But then I counter that by knowing that he's thinking like that. And then I use a few grunts to defend, and I use the other grunts to punish the fact that he's not making a single incisor. I punish him. I punish the fact that he's making a lot of cons, and he is doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. He's gone up to a 5th con here, making a construction turret.
It's also about reading your opponent, what he's gonna do, right? Because every good player is gonna try to grid it out, play greedy, and you have to abuse the fact that your opponent is gonna play greedy, right?
Yeah,
Something
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's like what we've seen on this map. It's like, just like make like one tank into five cons. It's just kind of wild how greedy you can actually be.
You have to abuse that, right?
Right.
And because the rest, I was able to make a lot of grunts, and then I was able to actually send a lot of grunts, and I was able to do some damage. Maybe not a lot of damage, but I did some damage.
All right. I mean, for like the damage, even in this, is like you've stopped him making this mechs and pull back with his expanding con, right? So it's like even though you might not have gotten any damage, air quotes there, you still like forced.
And because I have the control of that area, it makes me feel more safe, and I'm able to expand without having to overmake LOTs, right? And I don't have to play safe with my constructors.
Right.
It's just having like grabbing that map control, having the map control, and knowing where your opponent is up to, and the positioning of his army, the position of his cons, where he is, etc., etc. Right?
Yeah, maybe that's a little more of like an advanced topic, but very much so. If you're out in your opponent's face, like you know what for one, you know what army units they have, right? So it's a good way to scout. But it's also
Yeah.
like you're pressuring. Say you're pressuring here on the map. You know the thing behind it is pretty much protected, like by proxy or like just by the nature of you having units more forward than what you're expanding to, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, we're going into like. Well, it looks like you stopped making that solar, or not solar, energy storage. I thought you had contour energy storage contour, but I think you changed that up at some
I'm
point.
not gonna be making storages now because I know I'm struggling to keep my E up, and I
Right,
have to
right.
make so. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's like I said, if I'm like accessing 100 or 200, then I make the E storage, right?
I see. Full E-bar and accessing like 100, 200.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, e-storages as well, they cost a lot of E, so you don't want to make e-storage prematurely. You have to actually think about when you're gonna make the e-storage, obviously. So, yeah.
More energy scaling, right? What do we see? Like these expanding cons that grabbed. Looks like you kind of changed the order there for a second.
Yeah, just scaling E and scaling metal, right?
Right, right,
It's
yeah.
very simple.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Capping.
Yeah, like what I do is not hard. It's pretty much the fundamentals. I'm just kind of doing it efficiently, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not like rocket science in what I'm doing. I always do the same thing every game. You watch a few games of me doing it, you can easily. I mean, it's easier said than done, but
Right, right.
you can.
The thing I pick up the most, or like in like the guides I've made myself, it's more of like spacing the con turrets out, like this AFK wind scaling we see going on in your base right now. It's just like you set it up, and through it for the rest of the game, now you're just going to be scaling wind, and it's kind of set. And now you can suddenly micro over here, like on the other side of the map. We see you sniping a radar over here, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the main difference is the APM of being able to do both, is scanning your base and microing your units at the same time, which is something most people struggle with. Either they focus on the base but ignore the units, and therefore they have less map control, or they focus too much on the units but they start ignoring the bases,
Yeah.
and what happens is they have a worse base development. So I'm gonna have the better scale, the better economic long term. So you should. It's just being able to do both, and that's where the APM comes into play. Right?
Right. Playing zoomed out. All that.
Yeah.
I like maybe in my own time I spent coaching people, I very much emphasize just doing the more macro side of things, and like the APM micro being able to do both simultaneously will come with practice, right? But I always try and have players
Yeah.
focus on the more macro side of things. If I see they like
Yeah,
need-
macro is the most important because it's the hardest to master, right? Micro, it's you play like 10, 15 games and you kind of know the idea behind the micro. You just more units, better formation. It's not that complicated, right? But macro, on the other hand, it's way harder to actually understand and how to actually master it.
Right,
and
right.
stuff.
and maybe that ties back into like those like triggers that, oh, I'm floating E and I have a full E bar, make energy storage, right? It's like, oh, I have full E and some excess metal. It's like, well, I need more build power, right? So it's kind of these the balancing act of like build power, metal, and E. It takes a while to adjust to. So we can go into the last game here, Crystallized Plains. Hopefully y'all like this kind of content. If you can, hit the like button, leave a comment, let us know how we're doing. So Chisato, some thanks for coming on, sharing all his thoughts with us here.
Yeah.
I need to make a form or something like that to just have feedback on the league here, or like what maps to add into the pool, what to remove, stuff like that. So if you guys do have some feedback for the BPL, you can always reach out to me, leave a comment, join the server. I'll try and put that in the description so you guys can, get connected. Let us know your thoughts. And here we are, game number 4, Crystallized Plains. Maybe more the same. Is there something? Is there a something you notice about this map you'd like to share? Your thoughts going into the matchup here?
So I'm not much of a fan of this map because, of course, it's a small map. Not there's not much available resources to work with,
Battle started.
and I'm facing someone that I never faced on this map, so I have no clue how he plays this map. So it's kind of a, and he has more experience than me on this map, I'm sure. So
Right.
it's kind of a tough matchup. My intention was to ban this, but I forgot about banning it.
Yeah.
In the same made.
I was looking at the map pool for the series, and I was like, well, game 4 was on this, game 5 was on Falindel. I'm like, man, if Teddy can actually take it to game 4 and 5, he might actually have like an advantage
Yeah, I
against
don't
you in
know.
some regard. Like,
Just forgot about those maps. I don't know. Especially because I talked about it. Even I
yeah.
talked about,
Oh, I hate small maps, right? And then
it.
he didn't ban the small maps, so I was
I've been data. I don't know why did I say that. I feel like I just forgot that those maps even existed. I don't know what was going on. Maybe too much pressure. I don't know.
too much pressure. So I don't know if you know this, but like ticks can get up here. They can like run
I
back.
had no clue.
Yeah. So
But the reason why I made the max there to the farthest to the left is because I could get to the maxes quicker, right?
these mexes here.
To the left.
Yeah.
It's a very minor detail, but it's also something that also applies when it comes to grid. I'm trying to play for more resources, but I'm leaving my max vulnerable. It's kind
Right.
of a greedy thing to do as
Right,
well.
for sure.
But Teddy spawns closer to the max to make it so the max is unkillable, but at the same time he spawns further from the maxes. So he's going for a safer play. So this as well counts, right? It's the greed and the safer play difference, right? I always try to go for the greed approach just because I'm always confident that
Yeah.
I'm able to get away with the greed by
I-
using my skill.
I totally agree, man. It's like it's better to be greedy because like just doing it, the play itself being greedy, it's like you force them to respond to it. It's like if they don't punish you for it, well then suddenly you're ahead, right? So it's like a easy way to get an advantage.
Yeah.
See a lot of players actually make a solar collector right here to block this little like attack path from behind the main base. But yeah, so Teddy's just now walking over to these two mexes. Somehow you're idling. I don't know what.
No, it's a mistake. Don't mind about it.
Yeah.
It's not part of the plan. It's just me playing bad.
Okay, well, now we're gonna go for it. It's chill. No. The point still stands. It's better to like have the build range, abuse the build range of the commander, so you can more quickly cap these mexes. Yeah.
It's really only like a 1 or 2 second difference, but still, it really does make the difference.
No, yeah, it's like that approach or that the approach to the game, like finding that extra little value everywhere is like what separates like 50 plus players from like 40 OS players. So
Yeah, even in EVH especially, I also try to get away with abusing that. Spawning close to the maxes and stuff like that, right? Stuff like that.
right, absolutely. Do you walk back with your commander? I don't think you do. You end up going mid here, which is
Yeah,
like
I go middle. But then I kind of end up retreating because I don't want to die again.
right.
Like the last game.
Oh, you
where I
do
died.
slip into LLT here. I was gonna comment on like you're just kind of playing greedy here, just capping the mexes, making this forward radar on the high ground, but you end up adding that
Yeah,
LLT.
if it's only one max, I don't really make an LOT, but if it's 2 max, you have to make one, right?
Right.
And there's not that many maxes on this map to begin
No,
with.
that's definitely
It's
not.
not like you have to make 10 LOTs for each 10, like 20 LOTs, 20 maxes, right? It's only like 4 LOTs, which is not a lot of investments. And on a map like this, it's better safe than sorry, right?
Yeah, the mexes are so far away. It's like and to like move all the way and replace this con, say it went down because you didn't make the LLT is kind of annoying, right? So you ended up going core vehicles here. Is that something you just felt like doing, or it's like easier?
Yeah, I just prefer vehicles on this map because it's a flat map and you have a lot. Because you have the 5 max, which is worth a lot.
Right.
You can afford the vehicles early on.
Right.
And I'm kind of afraid of the factor build, even though I know Teddy's not gonna do it.
Right.
But I know if I go boss against that build, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a just playing safe. I don't want to risk it.
Yeah, getting in
Every
that like bad position here. Repair is so good. It's wild, dude. Like, look at this.
Yeah, that was very calculated. I knew that was gonna happen, and it ended up because if I didn't repair, I would have lost everything.
Right.
The con, the max, and because I was able to kill all the grunts by repairing, I was able to secure that expansion.
Yeah, that was huge.
That's also one of the APM things, the little tiny details, like
Yeah.
being able to retreat your tank and then get in position and then repair the tank, right, and etc. Just to get those little tiny values. That
Yeah,
can-
repair is so strong, man. Like, even like repairing LLTs, like with expanding con stuff like that,
Yeah.
man. It's like really easy to
Every
do,
time-
right? So,
Yeah. Every time I try to get raided, I always try to repair no matter what, right? It's something people might miss. Some people might miss, and it might not get you a lot of value, but sometimes it can actually save your life.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a pretty like what were your thoughts on this situation right here? I guess you had to kind of concede mid, pull back a little bit. Do you have
Well, I don't know. I was just playing a game. I was not thinking much about it. I was just focusing on having a stable economy. Try not to stall E and try
Yeah.
not to excess.
right?
And just try to hate because I have incisors in spots. I know that I have the upper hand because incisors trade better. So I have to abuse that fact and try to raid him, right? Abuse that weakness by raiding him. And of course I have to play it like I cannot feed, right? I can't feed him. I can't lose my units. So I have to micro my units properly while managing my base at the same time.
Right.
So
Just
it all comes down to, execution and how I do my gameplay.
take a look at that player review here. It can be really tough microing these tanks. I see now you're finally bringing a scout into one of those raiding groups. I was just going to say it's a little awkward kind of navigating around his base with these low vision
Yeah.
units.
Yeah, exactly.
Some decent control there, just kind of moving in, backing out. You really want to be like kiting with these incisors. It's kind of like the ideal situation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure they never get in range of my tanks, and I always make sure I have the better formation, right? So I get the better trades. Because if I mess it up, I'm gonna lose my whole army, and he's gonna be able to res it or reclaim it all, and then it's gonna be bad for me, right? He's gonna be winning the trade, and I make sure I avoid those from happening. All right. It's about making less mistakes than your opponent, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's like the nature of RTSs, right?
Or just every game in general.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, sure. True. RTSs are a little unique, and it's like a game of incomplete information, right? Like maybe on like a fighting game, I guess maybe you don't know exactly what your opponent's doing, but you can at least see them, right? There's like no fog of war of anything, right? Like
Yeah.
chess, there's no fog of war.
Yeah. I always do the same thing. You search for kill counters and wind everywhere. Always the same.
Right. 4 conturts and wind everywhere, you said?
Yeah, pretty much. And I always make sure I don't excess the E, and that's when I make the E converters and I reclaim the solars.
Yeah, I think I've noticed you in a few of your matches. Like you have cons that are scaling wind, switch to E converters, right? And then like back to wind, stuff like that. So I don't know.
Yeah. I use the space bar hotkey, right? To skip the wind and make the converters when I'm accessing.
Okay. So what is it
And
like?
then
Shift
listening to wind.
space energy converter. You slide a few into their queue.
Yeah.
Is there a specific number you're doing, or is it just kind of like a?
I just select every con and just drag 1 or 2. I don't want to
Okay.
over make e-converters, right?
Okay.
Because if wind goes down, you're gonna be fucked. It's very risky. So you have to be able to think fast and react fast to that.
Right.
So I try to not rush it, the convert. I try not to like overkill it, like go overboard, because it might bite me in the ass later.
Right. Yeah.
If wind ever goes down.
It's a good
yeah.
skill to develop, really, man. It's like just keeping an eye on the energy
Yeah, just
middle bar.
just looking at the equal bar, it's pretty easy on paper. Oh, just look at the equal bar. It's that easy, but nah, it's not that easy.
No.
But yeah, it's something that I try to do. I mean, I already had this skill already, like from FF.
Right, yeah.
Always had custom this habit of looking at the equal bar, which is very important. Never ignore the equal bar. Always try to fix the issues. Always.
Yeah, yeah. Whether it's like adding on wind, adding on energy converters, adding on
And
BP, right?
yeah, just fixing the economy. You can always get value by fixing the economy. Yeah. So yeah.
Which is, I think, just a great way to practice, man. That's just something I've been focusing on for a while now. Whether or not I'm good at it or not is to be decided,
Yeah.
I guess. But it's definitely something I'm very aware of in my games. Or like trying to like focus on more. It's not like getting value by raiding or attacking. It's just like, oh, not stalling, not accessing too much E, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Just keeping stable equal.
Once again, yeah, just another commitment to scaling wind, right? I think what do I see, like 3 or 4 cons scaling wind now, essentially.
Yeah. You can see also the EXS, right? Between me and Teddy. He has 3 energy converters. I have 50. I guess we're at different time. I'm not really watching your stream, but
Right, I'm at
I know you're
10:45.
14,
so.
right?
Okay.
I'm 14. I'm way ahead. But basically, I have like double the E. Just not double, but a lot more, and I have way less excess.
Yeah.
Which means I have way less wasted metal, right? And I'm able to use all my metal and stuff like that, and
Right,
I don't
yeah.
have to make solars. Like he has a lot of solars and some A solars, right? Which are more metal expensive than winds. So I get the better trade up.
This is classic Teddy making A solars.
Yeah, A solars are good. Like I was also, yeah, like I said before, I was an A solar enjoyer as well, but I converted into a wind enjoyer nowadays. I don't really make much A solars anymore because of the E storage glitch. Cheat, not glitch.
E storage glitch. What would you say? Is it a cheat or is it
I
a glitch?
said cheat. I said
Okay.
glitch. Why did I say glitch?
Okay. This is kind of wild. We're even like scaling wind in front of our base, like towards our opponent, which I thought was a little like.
Yeah, I just
interesting.
try to make wind everywhere. I don't really care if it's safe or not. I mean, I'm relying on my own skill to defend my wind expansions, right?
Right.
My wind farms.
Right.
Like, I'm not afraid of playing greedy, like I said a million times, because I'm confident in myself to be able to get away with it and defending my own greediness. If that makes sense. Yeah.
We're kind of getting close to wrapping this up. I mean, I appreciate you taking the time to record this video with me, and I would like to say, like, it'd be great to see you playing more 1v1s. I know you're like a team game enjoyer, but I think there's a couple players who would benefit from getting some practice games off you.
I mean, I said this before in the stream. I prefer 1v1s, but I don't like losing, so I don't play 1v1s. even though I know I'm the best 1v1 right now, I still feel nervous when I'm playing 1v1s because there's always a chance that I might lose a game.
Right. Well,
that feeling.
That's interesting to hear you say that. So.
I mean, the thing is, back in the days, I used to play a lot more 1v1s because I knew I could learn from playing more 1v1s. Right? Well, I'm losing, but I know I'm not like good yet, so I can learn from losing. But nowadays, because now I'm like the upper dog, I'm expected to win every game, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. I don't want to play a game and lose. So yeah, that's just how it is. Kind of an ego thing, maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think you have to have a bit of an ego to get this good at 1v1s in general, right? So it's kind of like so it's a double-edged sword, perhaps. Well, like I said, I appreciate you coming on. I think I might be doing a bit of a 1v1 clinic, not this Saturday, but the next. So if that's something you're interested in helping us out with, just thought it'd be cool to catch you around there, or maybe chime in, share your thoughts. But appreciate you jumping on, man, and kind of wrap this up here.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. It's good.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah, well, thanks again, man, and take it easy. We'll catch you guys in the next cast, and thanks for watching. Cheers.
See you guys later. Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah.